Okay, so Salesforce Lightning Web Component, day 7. Let's go and see. Today's agenda is, we'll quickly go through the previous session overview, and then we'll talk about the LWC event and how to handle the event declaratively, and we'll have a conclusion, today's interview question. So today, our focus is how to write a program declaratively. How to write a program declaratively. So yesterday we have discussed about the how to write a wire property in a wire function or wire property. So we have seen an example of wire property and wire function. Today we will see the LWC event. So yesterday in the last, before ending the session, we have discussed that events are nothing but any information or a notification passed by a browser or a component or an application regarding the action is called as a events. Now, Lightning Web Component uses the DOM events. Lightning Web Component uses the DOM events. Now, LWC does not use the Lightning events. There is no component event. There is no application event. Here we call them as a DOM event. In LWC, we call it as a DOM event. Whenever I say DOM, DOM is nothing but HTML events. So LWC events are, there are two ways you can create an event. One is declaratively, another second one is programmatically. Second one is programmatically. So there are two ways you can create events, declaratively and programmatically. So declaratively. So first one is a declaratively. In declaratively, we'll see what are the things that will be there. In declaratively, create event, dispatch event, propagate event, listen event. That means dispatch event, create event, dispatch event will be combined together. Create event, dispatch event will be combined together. Basically, this weekend two steps are there, but this can be written in the single step. This can be written in the single step. Create event, dispatch event. So this is nothing but we are firing the event. Propagate event, listen event. Listening the event is the handling it. Listening the event is the handling part. Listening the event is the handling part. So this is the declaratively. And when it comes to the programmatically is create an event and dispatch an event, propagate event, and the listen event. Now, you see here declaratively and programmatically, both the steps are same. So that means whatever the steps are available in the declaratively, same steps are available in the programmatically. But the difference you will see in the programmatically is in the propagate event and listening event. Create an event, dispatch event is same, whether it is a declarative program, whether it is a programmatically, whatever the one is the create an event, dispatch event is same, but the difference you will see in propagate event and the listen event. Now we'll see one by one. So first we will see how to write, how to handle the event declaratively. How to handle the event declaratively. Now here, when we say declaratively, the concept here is whenever we wanted to create an event, whenever we want to create an event, we have to use custom event. We have to use custom event. Whenever you want to create an event in LWC, there is a method, there is a constructor is called custom event. You need to use a custom event. And then in order to dispatch it, in order to dispatch the event, you need to use the dispatch event method. Dispatch event method. So to create an event, you need to use the custom event. To dispatch the event, you need to use the dispatch event. To dispatch it, you need to use the dispatch. So custom event, dispatch event is the one to create an event and to dispatch the event. Now, For example, I have a parent component, and there is a child component. Within the parent component, child component is there. In the child component, so what are we going to write the program is from the child component, how can we pass the data to the parent component? How can we pass the data to the parent component? Now, if it is a lightning aura, then we used to have a component event or application event, right? But here, without component event, without application event, declaratively, by using the declaratively, how can we handle the event between the parent to child? That means from the child, how can I pass the data to the parent component? From the child, how can I pass the data to the parent component? That means, let's say, the one which I'm going to implement is VLC player, which is a parent component. VLC player is a parent component. Within that, we have a child component, which is called as a VLC control. Child component is called VLC control. In the VLC control, there are two buttons are there. There are two buttons. One is a decrease button. Another one is increase button. There are two buttons are there. So when we say decrease, the volume will be decreased. When we say increase, the volume will be increased. So there is a volume controller here, and it's kind of a in the TV remote, you have a increase, decrease volume, right? So similarly here, when you say increase, it will be 1, or again, if you click on increase, volume equal to 2, or if you increase again, it is 3. If you increase again 4, like that, volume will be increased. When you say decrease will be, it will be decreased to the 3, or it will be decreased to the 2, or it will be decreased to the 1, or it will be decreased to the 0. So increasing the volume and decreasing the volume. So this is now here, this is a child component. VLC control is a child component. This is child component. From the child component, whenever we are doing an action in the child component, parent component has to listen the child component. Child component is whenever we are doing any action. Now here in this case, we are doing the on-click action. On-click on the decrease or on-click on the increase. Whenever any action is happening here, the parent has to listen to the child. That means when it listens to the child, the data from the child component, we need to pass it to the parent component. The data we need to pass from the child component to the parent component. So it is a up direction. So let's see one example. This is the example. Let's go ahead and implement it. How can we pass the data from child to the parent? Now let me open the Visual Studio. Now in the Visual Studio, let's implement a new LWC component. Control-Shift-P, create a LWC component. Now I'm creating the LWC underscore event underscore declaratively. LWC underscore event underscore declaratively. So this is the child component. So let me write here under LWC underscore C underscore event underscore declaratively. This is my child component. So first I am implementing the child component. What is the child component contains? Child component contains is the lightning card. Within the lightning card, I have a 2 buttons. Within the lightning card, I have a 2 buttons. So that's what I'm going to implement right now. Let's go to the HTML. Now here, lightning card, lightning hyphen card. Now let's say title equal to volume controller, volume control. Now let's close this lightning card. Within the lightning card, I need to implement a lightning button. lightning hyphen button. And let's say label equal to decrease icon name equal to, let's use some icon name here, lightning design system, utilities, let's see, icon, okay, so this is the utilities. Let's use the icon, some icon which is left. I'll use some icon which is a symbol which is says the left. So let's go ahead and use the icon name. So utility colon left. This is the icon that I'm going to use it on the button. And then on click of this button, we are going to call a function. Now let's say that handle decrease, and then I'll be closing this lightning button. Similarly, I have another button. This button is label increase. And utility is I'm going to use the right. Similarly, left, right icon will be there. And this is a handle increase. Now this is my child component. Now here two functions are there. So let's copy this function, go to the JavaScript, and within the export, I'll use it here, one function, and this parameter is event. And let me copy the another function, which is a handle increase. Now that's it. Now here, whenever user click on this decrease button or increase button, the first thing is that we need to create an event and the dispatch event in both the scenario. As soon as I click on increase, I have to create an event and then dispatch the event. Two steps has to be done. So step one, create an event. Step two, dispatch an event. Two steps we need to do. So create an event. In order to do the create an event, as I have explained, we have to use the custom event. That means I need to use the new custom event. And within that, you need to pass an event name. In this case, event name is an increase. We change this. In this case, it is an increase because this is the event for increase. And this I'll be storing into one variable. This I'll be storing into one variable. So const increase equal to, this is the variable. In this variable, what I'm doing is, in order to create an event, I'm using a method called custom event. This is a predefined method which is provided by the DOM events. So LWC uses the DOM events, which is nothing but HTML event. So this is the event that is provided by the DOM. So custom event is nothing but whenever we use a new custom event predefined method, that means we are creating an event. Then immediately we need to dispatch the event. Immediately we need to dispatch the event. In order to dispatch it, we need to use this dot dispatch event. Dispatch event. What I'm going to dispatch it, the variable here, new custom event, whatever it is created, that I'm going to dispatch it. Now, similarly, I need to write the same logic for the decrease handle decrease. So instead of writing in two steps, in one step only, I can create an event. So that means I can create an event as well as I can dispatch an event in single step. Dispatch event in single step. Create an event and dispatch an event in single step. Now here we need to use this dot dispatch event. Within this, what we have done here is in two steps I have done it. First I created the custom event. That means I created the event, and that event I'm storing into the INC. And this INC I'm passing it to the dispatch event. Instead of writing into two steps, I can write it into the single step. I can write this to the single step. That means this dot dispatch event, within this, directly I can say that new custom event, and within this I can pass a event name. Now in this case, event is a decrease event. Now both the things are done here. Creating the event, dispatching the event is single step. Now you do not need two steps. New custom event increase, which is going to store in the INC. Now once the create event is done, then we are going to dispatch the event. Once create a event is done, then we are going to dispatch the event. Right? So instead of writing into the two steps, what I have done is I have simply implemented in single step where I use the dispatch event. While doing the dispatch event, I created the event and I did a dispatch. Now, right now, what are the steps are completed? The steps which are completed here is right now we are doing it as a LWC event. First one is a declaratively. Now for this, we are using the create event. Just now we created the create a event. And then second one is dispatch event. And the third one is propagate event. Fourth one is listen event. Now, right now, we have completed the create a event. How did we do that? Using the custom event. Custom event is the method. In the method, we need to pass the event name. You can pass any name here. You need to pass the event name. So this is completed. We know that how to use it. And similarly, for the dispatch event, you need to use the this dot dispatch event. For this dispatch event, you need to pass the create event. You need to pass the create event data here. And this is completed. Now this is done. This is done. Now next thing is that how to handle, because this is a fire. I'm done with the firing it. I'm done with the firing. Who is handling? Listen event will handle. Listen event will handle. Now in our case, the first one is completed. Firing it from the this place is completed. Now parent has to handle. Parent has to handle it. Now let me create a parent component. Let me save this. And let me place the metadata file. Let's copy the metadata file. Is exposed true and targets. Let's save this. I'm going to deploy this source to org. Deploy this source to org. Now it is done. Successfully run. Now I'm going to create a parent LWC component. Parent LWC component. Control Shift P. Create a lightning web component. Create lightning web component. This is LWC underscore parent P underscore event parent event underscore declaratively. Right. So this is the parent component. In the parent component, what do I need to do? I need some paragraph here in order to display some data here. I need this is the paragraph. So this is the paragraph, and then I need to call the child component. I need to call the child component one paragraph in the parent component. Now let's go ahead and implement that. Let's go to the HTML and lightning card, lightning hyphen card title equal to, let's say that this is a VLC player. And then icon name, let's use some icon name. Icon name. Let's use this desktop. Utility. Desktop. Now, this is the lightning card. Within the lightning card, I need a paragraph. For paragraph, I'll say here volume. And then I'm going to print the data, whatever the child in the child component, whatever is happening here. So I have to print the data. Now here, in this case, let me add another paragraph here, which says this is a child component. Child component. Similarly, this is the parent component. Parent component. And then let me put a break. Now here I need to call the child component. How to call the child component? C hyphen. Then you need to use LWC underscore C underscore LWC underscore C underscore
event
declarative. Let me copy this. So this is the child component. Now, within the child component, I have two events. One is an increase event, another one is a decrease event. There are two events are there. Now, how do I call that event here? So basically we have to call the event. First one is an increase event. So I'll say that on increase event. Let me copy that. This is a one. So whenever you call the event, you cannot directly place it like this increase. You need to in front of that use a on increase. So whenever this event is listened, that means when the parent is listening the increase event, I'll call a function here. Let's say that handle volume increase. Similarly, I have another event in the child which is called as a decrease. Another event which is called as a decrease. So let's copy that. And before that, we need to use on decrease. This is the another event. For this event, whenever the parent is listened to this event, then I'm going to call a function handle volume decrease. Handle volume decrease. Now let's save this. Now what are things we need to create? One is the variable we need to create it, that is the volume. And the second one is a two functions. Two functions I need to create it. So let's copy the function name here. Let's go to JavaScript. In the JavaScript, one function name is handle volume increase event. And the next one is handle volume decrease. Copy this. Create another one, which is an event. And what else we have? We have a one more variable, which is a volume. Volume is a variable. You can say that initially the volume is 0. Now, handle volume increase and a decrease. So basically, I'll say here, whenever the parent is listening the volume, whenever the parent is listening the button click in the child, whenever parent is listening the button click in the child, some action needs to be happen in the parent. So that means, let's say that I'll say here if. Now here in the increase, I'll say that increasing the volume. So wall, this dot wall equal to, I'm increasing the volume plus 1. Similarly, here also I'll be doing the volume equal to this volume dot volume minus 1. This is increasing or decreasing it. But before this, I need to check the condition. If it is a less than, if, because I cannot increase whatever the level I want. Let me put some condition here. If volume is less than 101, if volume is less than 101, then only keep on increase it. That means maximum volume I can place it only 101, or let's keep it as 100. Let's keep it as 100. And similarly here, reduce it. Don't go less than the 0, right? We do not want to go -1, -2, -3. We do not want it. So the condition here is if wall is greater than the 0, then only decrease it. If as soon as it becomes 0, if the user is clicking on the decrease, do not do anything on that. That means once user click on decrease and the volume is 0, I do not want to go to -1, -2, -3. So that's the reason I'm adding this condition. That's the reason I'm adding this condition. Now let's go ahead and let's deploy this program. Let's see this. So I have a parent component, child component. I'm listening to the child component button click. On the clicking on the button, I'm performing some action here. Right? Perfect. Now let's go ahead and update the metadata file. Let's say this is it. Now click on save. Now deploy this source to org. Now it is deployed to the Salesforce. Copy this Lightning program. Now let's go to the developer console, resume. In the developer console, let's add C:, this is my parent component. C:. Right click on a preview. As soon as click on a preview, let me add some CSS here. Padding left. Now, here, this is the VLC player and this is the parent component. Volume is in the parent component and the child component is a control. Now, if I say increase, the volume is increasing here. It is increasing it. The volume is increasing. As soon as I click on this volume, it is keep on increasing it. It will go maximum. It will go maximum of 100. It will go maximum of 100. After 100, it will stop. That is the maximum volume. That's the maximum volume. Right. Now, if I want to decrease it, I can decrease it. I can decrease it. I can decrease it to the volume 0. It will not go below 0. If I keep on hitting enter here, the 0 below 0, it will not go down. It will not go down. It will not go down. Maximum, it will be 0. Now, what is happening here? Here, this is the child component. This is child component. And this child component is calling, and on top, it is a parent component. This is the parent component, and this is the child component. In the child component, whenever I do the action, whenever I click on an action, the button click, the first thing, the creating the event and the dispatching the event together, it is happening. Creating the event, dispatching the event together, it is happening. Whenever the event is happening here, whenever the event is happening, parent is listening to this event. Parent is listening to this event. As soon as it listens, whether it is a decrease or increase event, it goes to the parent, the method or a function, the JavaScript. In the JavaScript, whatever the logic is written, that logic is getting executed there. That logic is getting executed there. Any questions on the VLC player? Any questions on this declaratively program? So whatever we have done, this is a declaratively program.
Ma'am, once can you show that like child component? I just missed that thing. The program.
So child component, this is the one. In the child component, we have a lightning card. In the lightning card, 2 buttons are there. On clicking on this button, it is calling the 2 method or 2 functions, handle decrease and handle increase. And whenever that function is clicked on, we have a 2 steps which we are performing it. Create an event and dispatch an event. Create an event is nothing but we have a something called a custom event. This is a predefined method which is given by the DOM events, which is a HTML events. So this is a predefined HTML event. By using this, we are going to create an event. And by using the dispatch event, we are going to dispatch the event. Now, instead of writing in 2 steps, I can also implement in the single step. I can also implement into the single steps. This is a shared component.
Okay, that increase and decrease, like we can write anything, right? In custom main.
Yeah, you can write anything here.
Okay, everything, rest of the everything is like predefined.
Yes. So whatever the name you are giving here, this is the event name. So whatever the name you are giving here in the parent component, it has to be the same name of that on the event name.
Okay. So we need to use on with that event.
Yes. So prefix with on, whatever the event is there, it has to be in the parent component, prefix is on.
Okay.
Now, so right now we see that it is a number is increasing or a decreasing. Let's suppose if I want to pass a data. Now here it is showing as a volume. Now here it is showing as a volume. Instead of a volume, I wanted to show whenever I click on an increase, the text has to be changed. Whenever I click on a decrease, the text has to be changed here. Now, how can we pass the data? If you want to pass the data, so in the child component, from the child component, in case if you want to pass the data, let's go to the JavaScript here. Here we have a custom event. Custom event. This is the event name. This is the event name. Then you need to pass another parameter. You need to pass another parameter. That parameter is within the JavaScript. It has to be within the JavaScript. So increase first parameter is the event name. Second parameter is what is the data that you are passing it. If you have a single value, like you need to pass detail colon, detail is a standard that you have to use. Detail colon, then for example here, this is a volume increase. I'll say that volume increase. And similarly, I'll say here for the decrease, I'm passing the parameter in the JSON, detail, colon, volume decrease, volume decrease. Volume decrease. So this is the data I'm passing from the child component. Now, when I'm passing from the child component, so that means what I'm doing here in the single step or whether it is here with the data I'm passing it with data. So event is anyway I'm passing it. If you want to pass any data or any field information, then you can pass the details here by using the JSON structure here. JSON structure will have a key and value. This is when you have a single value. Now let's see first with a single value how to pass the data. Now this is the data that we are declaring in JavaScript. Now what I'll do is I'll deploy this source to org. It is deployed successfully. Let's go to the parent. In the parent, here instead of a volume, I'll say that I'll declare some child volume or a child name, C name. So C name is also another parameter. So whenever the buttons are clicked, dynamically the data will be displayed. Now I'll copy this C name. Let's click on save. Now let's go to the JavaScript. I'll introduce another variable which is called as a C name. C name equal to, this is in the parent component. I'm writing it. Please click on button. Please click on a button. This is the initially it will display. Now, whenever the user click on increase, whenever the user click on increase, now here I'll say CNAME equal to the details which I am passing from the child component. For the increase, what I am passing here, if I go to the child component, for the child component, what I am passing it from for the increase, volume increase. So whatever the data I am passing it, I wanted to display the same data here. That means event dot, let's take a detail. Detail. Why only detail? Because when you are passing from the child component, it has a detail here. You cannot give any other name. It has to be detail. So if you want the details, whatever is passed from the child component, if you want to capture it here, you need to use event dot detail. Now same thing for the decrease also I'll be used. For decrease also I'll use the same thing. Click on save. Now right click, deploy the source to all. Let's refresh here. Now here, when what is it is displaying, please click on the button. Please click on the button. This is the standard one. Whenever the component is loaded in the parent component, this is the text it is displayed. Where is the text here? This is the in the parent component. In the parent component, this is the text it is displayed. CNAME equal to, please click on a button. That is the onload of the component, it is displaying the detail. As soon as I click on increase, what should happen in the child component? In the child component, increase. That means it is the event increase, and the detail that I'm passing is volume increase. And that volume increase should be displayed here. Now it is displaying the volume increased. Now if I say decrease, it should display volume decrease. Now the data is displaying here. Now the data is displaying here. Now this is how we will pass the data. As soon as I say this, increase or decrease, the data is dynamically displaying there on top. Dynamically displaying the data.
And so in order to pass data from child to parent, we'll be using this dot detail, as detail is a common attribute in child. Is
Yes.
it?
Yeah. It's not an attribute. This is the method, predefined method. For this predefined method, we have a type, like what is the event name is the first parameter. Second parameter is what is the details that you are passing it.
Okay.
Now,
The increased one is a event name, right?
yeah. So this is here custom event and event name, comma. If you want to pass any parameters, you need to pass the parameters. How you will pass the parameters? In order to pass the parameters, you need to use detail colon. Then you need to use the volume, whatever it is there. So this we are passing it. How we are passing it here? We are passing it into the JSON structure. The parameters always passed into the JSON structure. If you have a multiple values here, this is a single value. If you have a multiple values, then you need to use the detail colon. Again, one more JSON structure. Again, one more JSON structure, where you need to pass the multiple things. We will see that how to pass the multiple. But if you have a single data, then you can directly pass it like this. But if you have a multiple within the JSON, another JSON structure you need to implement.
Swapna, is it mandatory for two methods I need to pass same parameters? For example, we have used detail, right? So detail info.
This
Like
is
this
the
also.
key. Basically, this is the key. Here, it is a key, and key will be always detail.
Okay.
Value will be different.
Okay. Okay, got it, sir.
Okay.
Detail should be constant, right?
Yeah,
Detail.
it's a constant, yes. Let's see another program so that you will get a clarity. Employee details will try to pass it to the from child to parent. Now let me implement one more program. Create a lightning web component LWC underscore child employee events event underscore employee. Now here, let's go to the HTML. I'll use the lightning card. Lightning hyphen card. Now let's say title equal to. We are going to capture the employee details. Capture employee details. Let's assume that I'm capturing the employee details, lightning input, lightning hyphen input, then the label equal to, let's say employee name, and then we'll use on change. Whenever the user is entering the data, I wanted to capture the data. So for that, I'll use the on change. For this on change, the data will be captured in the employee name. Let's close this. Now this is the lightning input. This is the lightning input. Employee name, employee phone, and then employee city. These are the three details I'm going to capture. Employee phone, employee city. And also I need another button, because on click on the button, I'll be passing the data to the parent component. So lightning hyphen button. Let's say label equal to submit. Label equal to submit. On click. On click equal to. Let's say employee event, EMP event. And then let's close this. Click on save. Now I have an employee name. One function is employee name, another function employee phone, city, employee event. So total 4 functions are there. So let's take that. Let's go to the JavaScript. In the export. So first one is the employee name, event. And then we'll have an employee phone. Event. And then we have a employee city. Employee city event. And then finally we have a button. Employee event. Event. Now here, whatever user is entering, I need to capture the data and store the data. So that means for employee name, phone number, city, I need to create a variable, local variables. Name, phone, email. Now, as soon as the user typed the data, then I wanted to capture the data here. So first one is the employee name. So I'll store it into the this.name. Whatever the user is entering, I'll capture event.target dot whatever the value that user is entering, I'll capture that. Similarly, for the phone, we have a local variable phone equal to event dot target dot value. Similarly, for city, we have a city. This dot city. Sorry, city or email city. So I'll use the city here. Equal to event dot target dot value. Event dot target dot value. Now, whatever the user is entering in the employee name, phone number, city, we are capturing the data and we are storing it. Now, finally, click on the button. Click on the button, we are using the dispatch. So this dot dispatch event. This dot dispatch event within this. I'm going to use new custom event. For this custom event, let's give a event name here, which is the employee details. Employee details. Now, comma, parameter I need to pass. What are the user has entered? The data I need to pass it here. The data I need to pass it. So detail is a property key here. Now colon. Now here I need to pass a multiple data. I need to pass a employee name, employee phone number, employee city. I need to pass 3 details. Now that means I need to implement another JSON structure within this. Now, let's say that I'm using the ename colon this dot name. Similarly, I have a phone number. Event dot sorry here phone this dot phone comma we have a e-city equal to colon this dot city. Now, what are the details I'm passing here? Name, what are the data is stored in the local variable. So that data name, and then we have a phone number, and then we have a city. So these all are the data I'm passing it here. How I'm passing it, I'm giving a name. So which is similar to like if I have to clearly explain this. So this data is detail, open, close, and here E and M equal to this dot name. And then EPH equal to this dot phone. And then E-city equal to this dot city. So basically, this is how the structure is for this output. Name, phone number, city. This is how the structure is. Now this dot city, these are the details which I am passing it. We are done with the chained component. Let's save this. Let's go to the metadata. Let's say is exposed equal to true. Click on save. Now let me deploy this source to org. Deploy this source to org. Now this is done. It is successfully completed. Now let me create a parent component here. Control Shift P. Create a Lightning Web component LWC underscore parent underscore event underscore employee. And click on done. Now Let's go to the HTML. Let me implement the lightning card. Let's say lightning card. And say title equal to employee details. Employee details. Now hit enter. Now, what I'll do is first I'll display the child component. Child component. Then I'll display the parent component. Parent component. Now, child component, I need to call the component here. C hyphen LWC underscore C underscore event underscore employee. So this is my child component. Let's close this. Now here we have a one event. The event is employee. We save this. Save, deploy this to source or. Now we have a employee details. Let's copy this employee details. Go to the parent component. Now you need to use on, then event name equal to, let's say that handle event is the function which is called. As soon as the parent listen to this, it will call the handle event. Now that's all here. Now I'll display the in parent, whatever the user is entered in the child component, I'm going to display the details here. So I'll say here employee details or employee name entered in child component. Child component. So I need to use the EMP name. Similarly, EMP name. Similarly, I'm going to display the phone number and city. Phone number, city. Employee phone number entered in city. Child component, which is the EMP phone. And then employee city entered in child component EMP city. EMP city. Now that's all in the HTML. Now let's go to the JavaScript of the parent component. I have a one function and these are the employee name, employee phone number, employee city are the variables I just need to display here. Now one function which is having handle, event. Now here I'll say employee name, EMP name, EMP phone, and then we have a EMP city. EMP city. Now whatever the user has entered, whatever the user has entered, we are passing the data enum equal to this dot name, EPH equal to this dot phone, ECT equal to this dot city. Now let me go here. Employee name, this dot employee name equal to, I need to use event dot detail. Need to use event dot detail. Now in this case, I have a multiple values that I'm passing. The first one, which is ENM. The first one is ENM. ENM. Then after that, we have a EPH. So second one is this dot EMP phone equal to event dot detail dot EPH. Similarly, this dot EMP city equal to event dot detail dot, we have a ECT. If you have a single value, you can just use a event dot detail. If you have a single value, you can just use a event dot detail. But when you have a multiple values, you need to use the event dot detail dot whatever the parameter that it has within the JSON, whatever the key it is there, that key you need to use it here. ENM, EPH, and ECT. Now that's it here. Click on a save. Right click, deploy the source to org. Now copy this parent component. Let's go to the developer console. C colon LWC underscore P underscore event underscore employee. Let's click on save, update review. Now we have a child component on top, parent component is bottom. Now capture employee details is this is the parent component, capture employee details, parent. Right, so here we need to enter the employee detail. As soon as I click on the submit, the parent is going to listening to the child component data and it will display the data here. It will display the data here. So let's say that employee name is Jyoti Rama, and phone number is some phone number here. Employee city is, let's say, Dubai. Now click on it, submit. As soon as click on it, submit, the parent is listened to it and it is displaying the data. It is displaying the data. Now let me right click, source, component, LD application. Let me put a debugger here. Click on save, right click, deploy this to the source org. Done. Let's click on a refresh. Now let's say here. Now what is happening here? As soon as I enter the data, it is going to this particular details. For example, I wanted to just capture the data in the dispatch event. Now I'll click on go. Bharati, every time it is going to hit because we have written on change. Now similarly, I am entering some phone number here. Now city is Hyderabad. Now I click on a submit. On click on a submit. What is happening here? Dispatch event. The first thing it is called is a dispatch event. Now once the dispatch event is done, that means this is a custom event. Now click on inside it. Now it is a dispatch event is done. Once the dispatch event is done, now my parent component is going to listen to it. My parent component is going to listen to that. Now let me put a debugger there. dispatch the source to org. Also, I'll put a debugger in the parent. In the parent, in the JavaScript, this is the handle event. Click on save. And let me refresh. I did not deploy this. Let's deploy the source to org. Now, let me refresh this. Here, I'm entering some data here. David, Mark. Phone number, some details. And then city, we have a Hyderabad. And I'll click on it, submit. As soon as I click on it, submit, the first thing is in the child component, we have a event which is called as a dispatch event. In the dispatch event, first what it does is it will first create the event, then it will dispatch it. Now, once the dispatch event is done, then my parent is calling here. Parent is calling. Now, how it is calling it? Because we have written the logic. In the parent component, I have written here on employed details. So this is the event name. This is the event name. Whichever the parent component is listening this, means writing this event name, it will call. Basically, that is the one where the event is listening. As soon as the event is listened by the parent, it will call a function or a method inside the function. So it is going to get the details of event.detail enm. If you say event.detail, if you say event.detail, if you say event.detail has a 3 values. Employee name, city, phone number. Right? These are the 3 details. Out of that, I just need a enm. So that's the reason I'm taking the specific one here, storing the data. Click on next, then it is stored the data. Now this .emp is having a, emp name is having a David Mark. Similarly, emp phone is having this. And then if I click on a next, emp city is having a Hyderabad. So that is the details now we are going to display right now here. It is going to display these details. So this is the detailed declaratively how can we implement an event in LWC. Declaratively, this is how we will implement events in LWC. Any questions?
Ma'am, can you explain table format? After submitting, we can enter table format.
After submitting it,
We need the table format, like employee name, phone number, city.
yeah, you can use that. Basically, in the parent component, you need to use the detail data table, lightning data table. Instead of a paragraph here, you can just use the lightning data table. But here we have a only single data. When you have an array, in that case, you can go for a lightning data table. When you have a collection of details, here in our case, we have a details in the single data is available. But when you have a collection of information, that time you need to go for the lightning data table. So which we have already covered. In some part of it, lightning data table.
It is old data, ma'am. Suppose if you take the new data means.
What do you mean by new data?
Suppose you're entering that employee name and phone number, automatic save in a data in a table format, in a console only.
You wanted to see the output of this in the console?
Not here only, ma'am. Not here only. Suppose close that console once. I need to see here only employee details in a table format, like employee names and employee phone number, cities.
So what are these
Table.
employee details you are saying you wanted to see in the table?
Yeah, table, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying it. Instead of using it here, now you need to use the lightning data table. Lightning data table. In this lightning data table, you pass the data here. Whatever the data is there, that data you need to pass it here and build the column. And that column you can display the information. Which we have already covered this lightning data table. So same format you need to use it. So data, where it is storing it right now, we are storing into the single variable. But if you want a array format, if you want all those details, you need to build the array here, and that array will have a specific data. And then you need to build a column.
Okay, ma'am, thanks, got it.
So in the column, you need to specify the name, phone number, and the city here. And this column is the one standard one. So this is the header. So after that, in the HTML here, you have a data, right? So this data has to be in the format of like some kind of a data. It should be array format. You need to use it. So then you can store all those information. So in our case, what we are doing is we are taking it as a separate data. Now here there is the parent component. Here I am dividing everything. Instead of dividing this, what you can do is simply say that you have to define one more here. You can say that EMP details, and this EMP details, this dot EMP details equal to event dot detail. Event dot detail. Now like this, you can store this employee details, you can pass it here. Right, and then column you can pass it and you can use the details. Try it. If it is not possible, I can show you that, because which I have already covered in the showing into the data table. Okay, try that using the data table. If it is doesn't work, then let me know. I can show you that.
Okay, ma'am, okay.
Okay, so homework. Create a parent component and the child component. In the child controller, whatever the text you are implementing, it entering the text, that same text need to be displayed in the parent message. That is one. And the second homework is, this is the first one. Whatever the data you are entering in the child component, display here. In the parent component, display the child component details. And similarly, there is another homework. In the child component, account details, name, email, and the phone number. Name, email, phone number. You can, whatever the way you wanted to implement, you can implement. If you want to go with the LDS record edit form or a record detail form or a record form, whatever that you wanted to use, you can go with that. So totally fine. So in the child component, name, email, name, phone number, and the rating, industry. So click on a submit. Click on a submit. Record has to be created. Record has to be created. A record has to be created in Salesforce and pass those details. Pass above user enter details, above details to the parent component and display the details in table format. In table format in the parent component. In child component, you have a details where the user is entering related to the account. Click on the submit. The record has to be created in Salesforce, as well as the data has to be passed to the parent component, and in the parent component display the data in the format of table format. So either you can use the normal HTML table, or you can use the lightning table. You can use the lightning data table. You can use the lightning data table. So by using this, you can display. This is the second homework. So that's all for today.